Welcome to Be Healthy in a Hurry with Dr. Wayne, the Mango Man Pickering, myself, Betty Norland. Buddy says hello. And we're actually starting a season called The Essence. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is. But we've got a guest, Deborah Dennis. And hey, Deborah, welcome.
Hello. Hi, Betty. Thank you for having me on. It's so exciting.
You're
The
very
Essence
welcome.
season. I
You're
know what
very
that's
welcome.
about.
Yes, and I'm going to
I
tell
know
the
all about
audience. So,
it.
so let me share with you as the audience a little bit about the background of this particular guest season. When we think about health and wellness and fitness and mindset, which is what we talk about on this podcast, we think about what can each of us do in these areas. And so sometimes we learn these lessons through going through our own storms, our own journeys, our own mess, which becomes our message. And Dr. Jody Bear was somebody that I met about 5 years ago through Manny Lopez, who runs Network of Influence. And Manny is known for From Orphan to CEO, while Dr. Jody is known as one of the America's top foundational coaches. And each one of them have very heartfelt stories of struggles that they've been through that have elevated them to where they are today. And with their message, they are able to bring tools and hope to many. And both of them have been guests on our podcast in the past. Deborah, I don't know if you knew that. Um, so this season, this guest season, we're going to focus on the essence. What is the true essence of you? And what has your journey been, which you've been able to embrace and use to serve others? And so I was asked to be a part of this project, The Essence of a Woman, Unleash the Feminine Soul, which is part of Dr. Jody's Healthopedia company and project. And in this project, many women and a few men have shared their stories and their hearts. Women like Tiffany Haddish, Dr. Kalia Kamanchi Ali, a princess from Nigeria, and people like you and me. And so, in this season called Essence, we're going to feature some of the authors that are in this upcoming book, which is due out the fall of 2024. And we're going to learn about their stories and their chapter and their experience and why they believed being a part of this project could benefit others. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Deborah in a minute, but I just want to take a moment to welcome Deborah, who has combined extra growth in both motherhood and business, and she speaks about the divine, how divine purposes collide. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you. So let's talk a little bit about you and your experience and what you're going to bring to the audience. You are a mother of four, and I love as I've gotten to know you in writing the chapter in this book and kind of learning how really in tune you've been with each of your children and kind of the fun and serious and comical way that you've expressed learning how those kids have taught you many beautiful lessons. And so, what you're going to bring to the audience today is kind of the wonderment of discovering the spirit in each child. And I know that some of your kids are still at home before you set them on that odyssey, on that sail to um, going to fully launched adults. I loved how you said that. And I know you're in the pre-grandmother stage of life, which is really kind of fun. I like that too. And you went in you growing up, you were a dance kid and drill team and sorority girl, and you were relatively quiet, but you became really impassioned about women's rights at a young age. And then as children began to enter your life, you began to look at how can I tie business and business ideas in with involving the kids because you want it to be a family affair. And I know Extra Growth is one of the things you're going to share with us today. And that's a company that feeds the soil so that plants can grow in their own rights as splendor to bring nourishment to both humans and animals and support the earth without disturbing the earth. And I really love that. I know we're going to get deeper. But the last thing I want to tell the audience about you is that you are in Dallas Fort Worth area. You've
Mhm.
been married to 33 years to an amazing husband, David Dennis.
Yeah.
And you are now in the process through this book journey of becoming a first-time author and all the newness that goes with stepping into a new area of your life. And
Yeah.
so I'm very, very excited. Both Dr. Wayne and I are very excited to have you. Thank you for being our guest today.
Oh, you're so welcome, and thank you. Gosh, how do I say something after all of that? That was
You
beautiful. Thank you so much. It's fun to have someone else kind of summarize, some of your thoughts and put them in a perspective that is unique. I appreciate it, and
Ye-
it's been a lot of fun working with you. In case you listeners don't know, she is an editor and she's very good at it. And she's very
Thank you.
encouraging too. You can literally feel her love for the process of writing and for the people involved too, of course. But I mean, this is something that she's been, obviously made for. And as we grow, as we become in different phases of our life, it's really wonderful to try something new. So that's what I'm experiencing right now. My first child just got married and she just graduated from school and she's in the medical industry now and she's not financially dependent at all. I mean,
That's
it's like, wow, how did we do that? And she's so happy. So the happiness of our children definitely is a success feeling that we get. And well, Betty, I don't want to run on and on. Do you want to ask me a question or do you want me to just jump into something?
I think
Well,
Dr. Wayne has a question for you.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
let me tell you, Deborah, I spent 3 years of my life in Odessa, Texas.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, working in the oil fields out there, uh, chewing
So
tobacco,
you know all about microbes, don't you?
yes. Oh boy, listen, that was an incredible experience. And by the way, I spoke out at the National Speakers Association's annual convention one year at the Lowe's Anatole in Dallas, and that's where Willie Jolly and I really uh, combined and became very very good friends, and we've been friends ever since. But you're from Texas, and I think that's great.
Yes. The
Yes,
Anatole is beautiful. I think I went
yes.
to my prom there.
Ah, did you?
Oh, that's
And I,
fun.
yeah, I still have friends out there that I still communicate with, and on
Good.
their birthdays and different things, you know. But let me ask you something. What did you start thinking? Like you're very busy, mama and a business lady. What did you start thinking when you discovered a baby was on the way?
Oh my gosh. I was so happy having waited 10 years on purpose. Like I was only 22 and David was 24, but we just really wanted to spend every moment together. So we didn't wait. We had a 6-month engagement. We got married and we told everyone we were going to wait 10 years. They're like, oh, you might not want to do that, but we did. And I was just so happy that, once we decided to begin that process that it worked out. But intellectually, I was so prepared, so ready. I had plans. I had what I felt was enough money in the bank and enough maturity, being like 30 years old to, step into it very well. And nothing can prepare you for, I mean, even reading the what to expect when you're expecting, I mean, nothing can prepare you for the amount of love that comes in and amount of, I mean, it's like almost an obsession. What is this child going to be like? Can they hear me right now? Can they feel this? Do they like this? It's just, I was always in my head that way. And I had the fortunate experience of working at the time at a company called MedHost. I was their technical recruiter. I was interviewing people, even with morning sickness, I would duck out for a moment. I was in meetings. People were always looking to see if there was some development happening. I just had so much attention around it. And several people knew I was going to have a girl, although I thought I was going to have a boy. And I did have a girl, by the way, first, and she's the one that just got married. But oh my, oh my. I mean, there's just so much to it. Even if you feel a little bit physically fatigued, mentally and spiritually, you're flying so high during that portion of it. So I was obviously looking forward to seeing how everything was going to play out. And, managing my career, it just seemed like it kind of started melding into the fact that I was having a child. I mean, it was like a point of interest, kind of like, when you walk into a room and you're wearing a beautiful necklace. Like I know that Betty has this beautiful necklace she wore in one of her podcasts that looked like, right here. And I mean, nobody's going to forget that necklace, right? Well, I would walk in and it would be about me having a baby. So that was my statement piece, at that time. And oh my gosh, I'm just so happy that, we were able to, like, once we were ready, begin that process so well
Yeah,
with so
let me
much
tell you,
support.
that I watched a DVD, a uh, um, National Geographic DVD
Yeah.
on the human body, and this one here, they had a big series of them, and this one here was out from the time the baby was conceived until the
Yeah.
time of birth. I was so impressed at the detail that they shared and what you went through with 4 kids. Wow. Isn't that an education?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Boy, that
certainly
really,
is.
yeah, that really keeps you focused on life, doesn't it?
It does. It reminds you of what's important and how you can share. Everything is important, obviously, but how you can share every moment with, someone you haven't really fully met in the normal way that you would meet someone that you love.
Yes.
I love that. And, as we talk about this season, the essence, and in the book, the essence of a woman, unleash the feminine soul, we really talk about the essence, I think, of people, but I know our focus is on the feminine soul and the creativity. And I think one of the things that's important in this episode today is the essence of motherhood and the essence. I love how you said it, of meeting somebody you didn't meet in the normal way, and the love you pour into them. So the question I've got for you, Deborah, is you shared with us the experience of the first child. So people listening that haven't yet had their children, I think this is going to be beautiful, and people that have had their children can relate exactly to what you're saying. How did things change for you when your second child came along?
Oh, that was such a big deal because it shifted for me. I mean, my career, I just pretty much left the technical recruiting portion. And I was also doing real estate investing with, I just threw a lot of it more at David. And I became the mom with this giant stroller for 2 kids. And I just, and my mother-in-law, she just passed away. She was the most amazing grandmother you can possibly imagine. I mean, brilliant. She was a chemist. She worked at Abbott Laboratories, and David's an only child, so she did an incredible job raising him. And we would go everywhere together, and I didn't miss working, so to speak. And I thought I would. I thought I would never be what would be determined as a stay-at-home mom. But one of the things that I really want to tell everyone is there's really no such thing as a stay-at-home mom. There is a mom that, you know, is mostly at home and isn't traveling to Chicago and LA every week. I mean, yes, that exists, but it doesn't matter. The outlook of, oh, I'm giving up my career. I mean, it is more like something else is taking your imagination, your time, your heart. You're just flowing through your life, and it's a season. I mean, I don't have a double stroller now. I mean, that was a season that I have dear memories of, and I think with my first child, I was very determined to, juggle everything. I still wanted to work. I was making money and I enjoyed it. And like I said, I was getting a lot of attention from coworkers. I mean, they wanted to know everything about what was going on. But the second one, it was just too much. It took over all of my heart. And so from that point on, no more technical recruiting. But I did bring them to like an apartment complex once in a while to talk about renting things, or to a title company, or to an event that had something to do with our real estate investing. And it was just fun to have these little babies there and have them see their parents doing things. I mean, their parents were actually interacting with other adults, or honestly just like watching me deal with someone that they don't know. I mean, they see me dealing with their precious grandmother and my husband and everything else, but to go out and actually see someone and like their response to me, and then I watch their response to that environment, and it just like opens up everything. It's beautiful. And David and I were like, well, I mean, I'm sure they don't want to sit in their rocking things, in a environment that's business, like an executive looking like conference table. They want to be outside.
That's a
Well,
very good
an
point.
opportunity to kind of give birth to the idea of XtraGrow. I mean, they were right there for the whole thing. I mean, we put it in their hands. They were like blowing it around into the plants, and we didn't know what it was. I mean, we didn't talk about XtraGrow. I mean, we had no label. It's just, for the plants, let's try putting a little bit more of this in, that in. Let's experiment. Oh, look at that flower grew faster. So my whole career didn't go away, Betty. I mean, it didn't. It just included those two little kids. I didn't even plan it that way. It just naturally evolves when you're doing something that is positive, that, comes from your heart, that comes from a place of just sharing with your child. Everybody around you kind of pitches in a little bit. So we ended up having XtraGrow just kind of be born too. Once, my second child came around, and I didn't care at all if she had it in her little fist and put her fist in her mouth, because I knew that it was edible.
That's, it's funny because I don't have any of my own biological children. I love
Oh,
kids and I'm around children all the time. And I've got a beautiful extended family with lots of nieces and nephews and cousins. And I teach school. So there's many things that I do to keep around children because I love children. But I've seen a lot of my friends that some of them absolutely needed to get back into the workforce and have that adult interaction, and others were just like you where they just merged right into that beautiful world of childhood. And I think each parent, each mother and father, but each parent finds that balance that works for
yeah.
them and works for their lifestyle and works for their heart. And I love what you're sharing because I think people that are listening can really relate or can kind of know what to expect as they go through these stages. Dr. Wayne, I think you might have had another question.
Yes, let me say this to you too, Deborah. You never have to join a gym when you have kids. Man, they are full. I mean, just energy galore, and you're constantly moving. And another thing is, they're constantly honest. You can't lie to them.
That's
Th-
right.
Yeah, they'll
That's
call you down. They will call you down every time.
right.
And I love when I'm in the grocery stores and that kind of thing, and a dad and a mom have their kids, and they got about 3 kids, and some of them are only about 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and one of the little kids will hit the dad, say, "Daddy, that's not true." Yeah. Now, let's. Why don't you talk a little bit about this extra grow and
Okay.
how it impacts from even the youngest kids and steer in a very very serious company. I'm interested in that.
Yeah. Well, like for example, my son came along in 2006, and then I had another daughter in 2010. By that time, we were naming it XtraGrow, and we were like getting trademarks and decorating our bag and putting it in Home Depot and making boxes to where if you enter Home Depot, you see this display unit and it's taller than them, and they had something to do with it. So it as a serious company, and then they see it actually like on a shelf and have people buying it or have social media show them people using it. I mean, it's really gratifying for them. They love taking like a flower, such especially a snapdragon, and I write about that in my chapter. I mean, you can actually open the snapdragon and have it talk to a child, right? You've seen how they open their mouth. So anyway, that's on the package. It's, Snapdragons is, one of the items that, you would associate with XtraGrow, like our logo, like, the background of our websites and so forth. And I just feel like as a serious company, you need to have scientists, engineers, you need to have marketing people, all kinds of people like show up. And where do you go? I mean, a lot of times it was here at my house. It was here, and we would have people come and stay the night in a guest room a couple of nights, and you really get to know somebody through doing that. And the kids would be in the backyard, and the kids would be like talking about XtraGrow and not so much as salespeople, but just because they did something and they're proud of it, or they were involved, or the person that is actually spending the night with us plays the guitar and they sing together or something. So it just seemed very natural to have them be around when we're having discussions about XtraGrow. They just witnessed its birth into the world and feel like they had something to do with that. But the actual product itself is really nice because it doesn't disturb anything in the soil. I mean, you can use it with microbes, and we have done that. We've done experiments with no XtraGrow but really good dirt, and with XtraGrow and no microbes, with XtraGrow and microbes, and with only microbes. And we've seen different plants react differently. And we know that every plant is going to need something else. And we can put this XtraGrow in pelletation. We can drop it through a drone. There's just so much innovation around it that our kids know about because they were involved in those conversations. So it's it really worked for our family.
So Deborah, let me just so the audience is listening that may not be familiar with XtraGrow. Am I explaining this correctly? And if not, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tweak it. But it's
Thank you.
basically a fertilizer that is natural that helps the soil and the plants. Is that the gist of it?
Yes, yes, it's a soil food.
Okay.
It does classify as a fertilizer because when you sell something, it has to be classified as something, and you have to be insured to sell it, and any retailer is going to have certain parameters. So it is actually a premium organic fertilizer,
Okay.
and it will not hurt a plant unless it is a very minor small seedling, like a week old or something. You wouldn't want to put XtraGrow on that. So we have that disclaimer on our media and on our bags. But as you put the XtraGrow on the dirt, it kind of, I mean, if you think of the rhizome layer needing support to bring, I mean, I don't like talking about earthworms that much, but they kind of come up for it.
Mm,
And the
okay.
soil turns into something that it wasn't before. And XtraGrow doesn't like go away. It stays there, and it doesn't run off in the rain somewhere. It stays there and just allows the soil to be healthier. And of course,
Okay.
if the soil is healthier, everything around it, biophotonic energy, everything around it is much easier for the plant to have the correct amino acids and everything that it needs to, not be pushed into a health state, but to just naturally be in a health state.
Okay.
Well,
So that's what we have. It's a classified a fertilizer, but it's really soil food for
Okay.
the dirt to become everything it can possibly become for a plant. Like we can even put it on sand.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Now,
we can go to a desert. We could go to um, some extreme places that have drought issues or erosion issues, and it can help tremendously. So my husband is very, very vocal about how he can, bring XtraGrow into, various climates. And I would love to turn it over to him at some point if any of your audience would like to go deeper in that. But for right now, for the purposes of this show, all I can really say about XtraGrow is we've done it for 10 years. We've seen miraculous results in houseplants and food that you can like grow in your yard, and trees that look like they're dying, but then almost the next day they look different. And
wow.
it's all because of what's in the soil. I mean, when you
And
think about fertilizer, oftentimes the fertilizer has stuff in it that isn't really good for the soil, but it's good to boost the plant. And if it's an annual and it's going to die anyway, I mean, if people want to do that, they do that. But ours, I mean, it's just all natural ingredients that a child could actually eat, and a dog, if they get into it, they can eat it too. So
that's
that's what
really
we're committed to. We're
that's
committed to like the most natural possible means of having growth in plants.
excellent. So I know from what you said, it's in Home Depot. So is this primarily through the US, or is it also more global, and people can get it where? Like, and then we'll get into the book, but people can get it at Home Depot. I'm assuming they can also go to your website. So
Mhm.
let us
Yeah.
know how people can get a hold of this product.
Oh, well, XtraGrow is XtraGrow, XtraGrow with a big X. And our website is xtragrow.com. And we also have a foundation that helps children learn about it. We provide XtraGrow and other tools to communities and schools, and that's xtragrowfoundation.org. But if a person went to xtragrow.com and read about the product, there is a link to buy, from there. We've been on Home Depot for many years, so there's a whole bunch of reviews on Home Depot that are lengthy, that are people that are verified to actually have their hands in it. So I love sending people there so they can read all of those reviews. And as far as international, yes, we can ship the XtraGrow product anywhere.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Wynn, I have a question, but I think you were trying to say something earlier.
no, well, yes. What I was going to do is, but you already answered it, Deborah. Um, Extra grow. I was going to say, why don't you spell that XtraGrow, and that's your own natural fertilizer, huh?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm very interested in that because I'm very cognizant of mulch and all of that I have in my backyard.
Hmm.
And boy, just throwing the like say papaya seeds, the skins, and all that in certain like I've got 4 places where I go ahead and I put things. Man, I
Uh-huh.
have avocado trees growing. Uh, um, um, Papaya trees. I must have about 15 papaya trees, and
Beautiful.
yeah, plum trees, avocado trees, and it's great. And then they all grow just from my mulch. And man, you can pick the stuff and it's constant. And when you have stuff like XtraGrow, that really helps to boost the activity of it all, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, it sounds like you're doing amazing things.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's just my lifestyle, you know. I mean, I have a mulch bucket right here in the kitchen, and uh, and every time I get through, you know, cutting things up and preparing things, and I put and I don't want to call it waste, but the the skins and the
Compost.
seeds, you
The
know.
future compost.
Yeah, yep. And so I just go out there and I put it on one of my herb gardens or alongside the. I'll tell you what, it's amazing what you can do in a small space
Yeah.
because I live on the beach side, so I don't have a real big piece of property, but I have so much growing out there. It's amazing. So yeah, extra grow, everybody.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you. So Deborah, I want to say one thing, and I didn't even think about this. I kind of flashed back when you were talking about your kids being involved in your business and how that grows them and makes them a part of it. So my father had and his partner had a manufacturing company where they did automatic brazing and soldering growing up. And often they would be doing work with people from other countries. And so he would, anytime somebody came to visit, he would always bring them home. We'd either have a family dinner or they'd be sitting in our family room
Yeah.
on the couch talking. Sometimes they didn't speak the same language, so we would kind of act things out. But it was so wonderful and cool and special to get to know his clients. And I know what he felt is when he traveled, he wanted, when people came to see him, he wanted them to feel part of the family and he wanted them to have that family connection instead of just being a business trip where you didn't connect with people. And that that's just like a really beautiful thing that still resonates in my heart and soul from my experience as a child being involved with my parents' business. So thank you for bringing that up. I like that. So
Yes.
now I have a question about you and writing this chapter in the essence of a woman. So why did you start writing and why did you choose to be part of this project?
Well, it started when David and Dr. Glenn Ryan went out to Boca Raton as substitute for a couple of the authors of the previous book, the Foundations of Health and the Puzzle Pieces book. And David spoke about XtraGrow, and so did Dr. Glenn Ryan, and also a lot about what void space technology is doing, because we work a lot in that too. And he just met so many people there. And Dr. Jody literally said, "Well, we want to do a women's book." And he's like, "Well, I know a lot of women." Anyway, a lot of details later, a couple months later, I found myself on the phone and she said, "Well, have you ever thought about writing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought about writing about parenting because that's, something that, I'm very passionate about that I could just jump right into." And she goes, "Well, go ahead. You have like 2,500 words." So I didn't like piece everything together. At first, I had 5,000 something words.
I remember.
And yeah, I just thought I was going to write like 8 pages. And I thought, I wrote 8 pages. I didn't really count them. Then I found the software that counted them for me and fixed it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I decided to do it because I was in the process of the marriage. The wedding was coming up. The wedding was in May. I agreed to write in like April. So in May, I was like, oh, there's so many emotions about like, do I really want my daughter to take on a new last name? That was so hard. So it was just a way for me to, become a different person a little, another version of myself. Oh, I'm going to be an author now, and I'm going to meet like 40 women that are pouring their hearts out. And I had a chance to ask a couple of friends to be involved in the book, like Anna and Dr. Golda Joseph, Anna McKee. They're in the book. And Dr. Margaret Nagola from the Belizean lady has a piece in that book. And she's been over to our house several times. She's beautiful. She had this big, giant map of Belize the other day. And we were talking about where we were going to put XtraGrow. I mean,
Oh, nice.
that that country, people don't know. It's right next to Cancun. Cancun has like 500 airplanes coming in and out every day. It's so
Okay.
popular. Belize is right there. It needs
Mhm.
to provide food to them because
Mm,
it's right there. So we're
right.
actually like talking about how do we do that? And that country has an elevation of 5,000 feet up in the air here. It's got shoreline sea level there. I mean, it's got every rainforest climate kind of going for it. I mean, it's like so cool. That's, that just happened. So that's why I'm acting all excited about it. But that's the way our lives have been like ever since this XtraGrow thing started. But to get to the question, yeah, I really needed to focus on myself a bit, because I knew she was going to turn into a new last name. And, I tried to do the feminist thing. I said, you don't have to. You're already known as, your name. You don't have to change it. And another friend just got married and she didn't change her name. But that was the biggest, hardest thing. But I was supportive, Betty. I did buy a sign that had their last name on it for the wedding, and it's in the wedding pictures.
Oh,
But I
nice.
didn't make too big of the deal out of it after my first major one. But yeah, I wanted a diversion and I wanted to step into something else. And on the radio show, it was so nice that Peter Minkle of Fortune's Radio literally said, well, you're a mom, but you're other things too. You're a recruiter and you're a real estate investor and you're an entrepreneur in XtraGrow. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur in all these other things too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just really, really wanted to focus on myself. Something that had nothing to do with a wedding, nothing to do with, my husband or really anything, just my collaboration with a bunch of new people. And I want to say to everyone that may be listening to this, do that for yourself. Do that. Do something that you haven't done. Maybe something that you're prepared for, that you've thought about, that you've put your big toe into, but you haven't done. And if you do it during a time in which you have emotions like, oh my gosh, my child's getting married, it helps you get through it without any kind of like the anxiety of it, because you're busy with something else in your mind and you have all this support for it. So just anything you can do to garner support for yourself as you move through stages of your life, just like your kids, just like when you watched your kids do it for yourself too.
I
And
love
show
that.
your friends that you're doing it. I'm like, look at me, I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, cool. That's neat. So it works.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and so let's see. So your chapter has some action steps. Can you spend a minute or so talking about the action steps?
Oh, yeah. It's like what we were talking about earlier. Like if you have to be yourself around your kids because they can tell. I mean, you can like maybe pose a little bit in business or something, but not around a child. They also, when you're around kids a lot, as you know, as a teacher, you have to be consistent in yourself. And they have, I mean, maybe you're unpredictable as a person, that's fine. It's not like they have to know everything you're going to do and say, but if they know that you're being authentic and they sense that vibration about you, they're going to have it too. And they're going to feel comfortable having that too, because you don't want them to live in an environment where, oh, everybody has to be quiet about that thing or ignore that thing or pretend that this is so wonderful. And, just that story. So many movies that we watch. Like I just watched Billy the Kid last night. David and I watched 2 episodes of Billy the Kid. It's a new thing on Netflix or whatever. And what they had to go through as Irish immigrants. They're in New York City. Then they go to Santa Fe and all the stuff that Billy the Kid has in his head. Oh, I have to be this way. I have to watch out for this and this and this. I mean, so much. That's a cool thing to watch, by the way. I'm going to be watching that probably the next week or so. But anyway, I digress. The thing about the steps, being yourself is like really key. And you have to be really firm too. Like if you are consistent with each child having their own set of rules that helps them move through life, they really start trusting you. I mean, no flip-flopping. And then with being involved, you have an amazing relationship opportunity when you have a child. I mean, even if it's not your biological child, just any child, it's an amazing time because they have the development still going on with them. Once they're adults, they'll be more like, your peers with them and everything. This is like a small period of time, just to be involved with them. Like Cub Scouts was not fun at all. I had to touch a snake. One time I had to grab his body and turn it upside down, and cement was down below us. It wasn't even like dirt, it was cement. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I did it. I did it, and I touched the snake and I drove him around. And, we had all the nutcracker stuff where the hair had to be just perfect and everything. And they were like 4 years old being a fairy. I mean, I did all of that. I was involved with them, and I found, the fun portion of it because I knew I wouldn't get to do it again. I mean, it's just that small time. So being involved is so important. And another action step is protecting them. That's really our job. We have to protect them for what we perceive as harm. And we have to judge what we really tell them. What do we really protect them from? Yeah, it's fine to have a middle school teacher yell at them. That's great. I hope that a middle school teacher yells at them so they don't have to feel like they have to keep and maintain a record of absolute perfection, that they can learn from something. But if, there's something that, say they have a friend and, they're always being influenced to do something that you don't want them to do, like say, hey, I care about your future. In the future, if you are exposed to this and you don't manage it well because you're not ready to, then it could close a door prematurely for you. So I would protect them and just keep them from like having, well, this is the way I thought of it. I thought of it like, well, they have a future self. They really do. They have a future self that looks like at them. Like, say they're 14, they look at themselves at 7, and they're like, oh, thank goodness that my mom protected me so I can be this way now. So
That's a
I
good. I
really
like that.
believe in that. I really, really believe in that. And including them. I want them to be competent. I want them to know how to go to the grocery store and buy stuff to make a meal. They all are really good cooks. I want them to be included in, like, if I have like a guy come over teaching me like a cello lesson and seeing me mess up, seeing me like not go, oh wait, oh wait, oh wait, 100 times, but actually like just take the constructive criticism and roll with it. I mean, including them makes them so confident, like, oh, I have to hang out on a phone and give codes and verifications and do accounts and try to get money moved around. They know how complicated some of that can be, and they're not hidden. So I include them. I say be yourself, be firm, be involved, protect them, and include them. And if you do all of that in love, they're just going to turn into who they're meant to be, which is your job as a parent.
True, true. Very good. Well said. Thank you.
Yeah, let me tell you, this having children like this and doing your own job or own business is really a full, wonderful life, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, let's share with the audience here a takeaway that you can share when as we experience pre-launch and all of that.
Oh, oh, the book. Yes. The takeaway is just live in a space where you're open to doing new things and recognizing what is in front of you. Like, like, like one of the things that I started in the book to say is my first child, I would drive to my technical recruiting job in a sports car with the top down with all of that stimulation of the wind. So I would turn the music up really, really loud. And I ended up with a very loud baby. And I absolutely love the recognition that I had and, what my actions were and how, I mean, I didn't realize that she could hear that well, but she could. And she was a very, very, very loud baby. So my takeaway is however you personally behave in the space that you're in, if you're writing a book, no matter what you do, you have much more power and much more impact than you give yourself credit for. I mean, in this book, as one of 40 women talking, all of us equally have so much power. So if somebody wants to read our book all in one weekend, great. But what if it was more of like one of those devotional kind of exercises? Like, I'm going to just spend a week and read somebody's story thoroughly, and their contact information is there, right, Betty? I mean, if they had a question or an experience, they could just email the author. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just like incredible opportunity. So my takeaway, what I want to really say is a woman buying this book that other women poured their heart into, they read a chapter, something resonates. Maybe they want to share or go deeper or some kind of even a collaboration of some sort. We're there. We don't like, we're not so famous, we're somewhere else. I mean, we're physically able to communicate with each other and with, our audience. So we're here. You could read about one of us every week or read about two of us one week and then skip it for a month and then come back to it. It's one of those like chicken soup for the soul. I mean, you read a thing and then experience the thing. And I just love the idea that we got a chance to do that. I mean, I would do that every year. I would be in a book like this every year because, I mean, it just gives. It just, everything that you give, I mean, they give that, it comes back to you like, wow. I mean, it's just so much fun too. I mean, it's always like hard to do a job like washing dishes or something when you've done it 100 times and it's not the funnest part. You like cooking better. But this book, writing this book is it's just been pure fun and joy for me.
And I love how you shared, and you're absolutely right. It's something that you can, take and eat a nugget here, eat a nugget there, like, read a story and just see what relates to you. So, Deborah, this has been so much fun. We're going to go now to Dr. Wayne to talk about the wisdom of the day. So, Dr. Wayne, what do you have for us?
Well, why don't you tell me just real quick, Deborah, the title of your book again?
Oh, the essence of a woman's soul. My chapter is growth, extra growth for extra grow families, and I talk about the child being, so incredibly important to me.
Good deal.
Betty, did I answer that question?
Yes, you did. The Essence
Okay.
of a Woman, Unleash the Feminine Soul is the anthology that we're all
Yes.
involved with. So yes, perfect.
Yeah, I'm
And
very
and
interested.
my chapter is parenting for extra growth families.
Right on. Uh,
Every single author has their own title. So there's the
yes.
title of the master of the master book, and then 40 other titles.
Wow. Let me tell you, I've published 29 books,
Oh,
and the 23 of them are up on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. No, not Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. And mangomanbooks.com, that you can just go ahead and just check out, what we do. Man, you've got a story in you, and just this episode here is similar. And there's so much that people can do with their life if they decide to step back, because we all have
mhm.
our challenges and all of that kind of thing. And you got to get started. You got to do something about your life, because what is it? Life is too short, dying is way too long. So make sure that, and success can start anytime. So don't be afraid to live, everybody. Don't wait until things change, until you have more, or until you have you're that you're less tired, or until you get that promotion, until you settle down, until. Don't wait for a major event to occur in your life before you begin to live. You'll accomplish nothing if you wait for all the possible objections to be overcome. Get started now with your dreams of whatever you want. Taking a new step, uttering a new word is what people fear most. So take that first step, and your mind will mobilize all its forces to your aid, like to your assistant. And once you get started, all that is within and without you will become your assistants. So begin right now where you are, because the time which you are now wasting and dreaming of some far off success is crowded with great opportunities and possibilities. So success is yours if you want it. A journey, I like this, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So get started to get it in your heart to appreciate your excellent mind and your body. And I got to tell you, Betty, because you're really a miracle. And Betty's going to share that miracle with you. And then I'm going to come back and reward you with a terrific recipe. Betty, would you like to go ahead?
I would love it. Thank you, Dr. Wayne. And Deborah, I kind of did this in honor of you and knowing about XtraGrow and the soil.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of am twisting, because usually I talk about the miracle of the body, but I want to expand it to the miracle of the soil. And so off of National Wildlife Federation website, we talked about a few things. One thing that was fascinating to me is that 1 cup of soil may hold more microorganisms than there are people in the world. Like, that blew my mind. And back at the United Nations, back in 2015, that was the International Year of Soil. Didn't even know that. So that was cool. But this website gave a few other pieces about the miracle of the soil, which is part of life for us. And
Yeah.
it takes about 500 years to develop an inch of soil. So what they talk about is the physical, chemical, and biological processes that work together to make the soil. And they say it's really important to be aware of the history of the soil and to test it periodically, because we don't know if man-made toxins got in. And one of the episodes we did recently, when we were talking about optimal immunity in the last season of this podcast, we talked about the history of health and health practices through the years, and how things that happened to our ancestors could still affect our own health. And so I think about that also in the soil. What's happened in the history of the soil can affect what the soil is today. And then this I didn't know. And they said soil is made of stardust. So they say that there's soil particles. So it's like a rock of the Earth's crust, and it's been weathered for thousands of years. And so part of it is a volcanic process. Part of it is there's iron and nickel in the soil. Part of it, and I never thought about this and I haven't researched it deeper, but the explosion of the deaths of ancient stars. So I'm not quite sure how that feeds into the soil, but I know there's a word called regolith, regolith, and that's the loose layer of the soil, and that's on the moon, that's on planets, and it's on Earth. And so to me, it's just fascinating that our soil, we need it for our life. And we need it to grow good food. And Dr. Wayne's going to talk about the recipe in just a second. So thank you so much for doing what you guys do to support healthy soil so that we can have healthy plants and healthy life.
You are so welcome. I'm going to pass that on to my family. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Dr. Wayne, let's hear about the recipe.
Okay, but I'll tell you, Deborah, what you're doing, Darla, I just love it. I think it's great. You are a living example of living a healthy life, raising a family, enjoying your entrepreneurial ventures in life, and just taking care of your own personal health. You're gorgeous. I mean, you're healthy and you got vibrance to you. I just think it's great. And this recipe, yeah, you're very welcome. And that's from my heart. And the recipe of the day, let me tell you, this is awesome. It's a sweet grain stew. You're going to take 4 tablespoons of white rice, 1 tablespoon of millet, 1/2 of a medium-sized sweet potato or a yam, whatever you like, 2 cups of distilled water, a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, and 1/4 teaspoon of sea kelp powder. Now, how are you going to put this together? You're going to put all of those ingredients in a cooking pot and bring to a boil. And once it starts boiling, immediately turn the burner down to the lowest heat and simmer, covered, of course, for 30 minutes. You're going to enjoy this. That stew, that stew. I love it. I mean, I have that, and you probably want a second helping of this, but it's filling and will last you throughout the day. So you'll be quite impressed with that recipe, everybody. And mangomanrecipes.com is how they can get 400 of our recipes and, what to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for each month of the year. And I would like to say that you're very special, everybody, and you deserve the very best, which is why we try to bring the very best guests like we have with Deborah Dennis today and their wealth of knowledge with some superb recipes. Deborah, do you have something you want to close out with, and then we can give the final portion of our time together back to Betty with her wealth of wisdom?
Sure. I have all those ingredients. I'm gonna have to try that. Seriously, I have all those ingredients. I love ingredients. I call it pantry shopping. My kids go in and they know what goes with what, and I've never made that before. But oregano is one of the absolute best herbs that you can possibly have. I mean, it can make you feel better no matter what's going on, and it can evoke the sensation of eating pizza for kids that they would eat what he just talked about. Oregano is incredible. So back to you, Betty.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. Thank you. So I love to leave the audience with a quote, and I love Leonardo da Vinci because I believe that he teaches us or has taught us the art of observation. And I've actually got several quotes. So sometimes I'll give my own quote, but I usually always give a quote by him. And so one of the things that he says is that we know more about the movement of the celestial bodies than we do about the soil underfoot. And isn't it amazing that we know more about what's outside of us than what's underneath us and where we get our food from? So that's just something to tune into. But there were 2 other quotes as I was researching for this episode that I thought were worthy of sharing. And one is by Charles E. Kellogg, and this is from the USDA Yearbook of Agriculture from 1938, so almost 100 years ago. And he said, essentially, all life depends upon the soil. There can be no life without soil and no soil without life. They have evolved together. And then the other one is by Wallace H. Fuller from 1975 from something called Soils of the Desert Southwest. And he says a cloak of loose, soft material held to the Earth's hard surface by gravity is all that lies between life and lifelessness. So until next time, be healthy, be well, be wise.